slides. Oh, hello. I'm Diana Konecki. I'd like to welcome you to discussion on quality circles. Before we start, I'd like to show a few pictures. The first one is of the Korean War. It's important to remember, like in any endeavor, to have planning as well as military preparedness and to add trust as to what you do. As you scroll through the pictures, you'll see a few pictures from Arlington National Cemetery, and also a picture of the Vietnam Wall, which signifies those who died in Vietnam. Although some may question about whether what the purpose was and whether it was more of a conflict than whether it wasn't a declared war. But the point is, military preparation and maintaining trust is very important. And in equality circles, trust is paramount. So with that, let us begin. Hello, I'm Diana Konecki. I'd like to welcome you to discussion on quality circles. Quality circles is based upon my experience as a CEO of 2 companies, as well as an author, poet, and artist who works with open mic groups and artistic groups. Next slide. Part of quality circles involves using different tools. It has strategic thinking. Part of strategic thinking is what's called objective goals, strategies, and measurements. It's a one-page sheet that was used by many companies up to the late 90s and even today to specify in 4 columns what you want to do. This one-page analysis actually works better than a business plan because it gets right to the point. And by setting up the goals and strategies along with how you're going to measure, you can figure out how close you're getting. But the point about measurement is, remember, you don't want to just measure for measurement, just to have some sort of statistic. You want to measure for a certain result that's going. So you don't want to get into where you get too much into qualification. You actually want to get into results and customer satisfaction. The second part is what's called SWOT TOLST analysis, which means basically embracing strengths and weaknesses to move past constraints. SWOT basically stands for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So what happens, you make a 4-column chart listing as what the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats are. And in the TOLST analysis, you compare opposites. How do we do a strength with opportunities? How do we do a weakness with opportunities? How do we do a strength against threats or weakness against threats? What type of strategy would we use? And they'll give you 4 types of strategy or a unified strategy to work towards a goal. The third part, and the most important, is one that was used and just started to be used again, is the FAST diagram, which is using linkages between what and how to optimize and understand solution, a continuous approach. In the FAST diagram, what happens, it's actually a graph. You actually make a chart. The horizontal line is the what, the vertical line is the how. So let's say you want to get better customer results. Okay, that's the end point here. Now what happens on the what, you backtrack. Well, what do we need to get better customer results? Well, repeat customers, initial sales, faster closings, greater response. Now from those, for example, how do we get greater response? Maybe better advertising, better personnel, better personal tactics. But how do we get repeat customers? A better product, continuous quality, customer service. And then from those, you can design a link to find out what the optimized path is to have a best product. The FAST diagram is something that's very beneficial to know how to do, and there's different references on it. But just remember, basically, it's what and how. You put the steps for what from beginning to end, and then for each of the what steps, you put how you're gonna do it, and how do these house steps interlink with the other house steps. And that way, you can figure out the branch or the tree. Next slide, please. In quality circle, emotional aspects of quality is listening rather than hearing. Many people hear, but they don't listen, and there is a difference. As well as intelligence other than IQ. For example, some people are very good at understanding a certain field or certain aspect, but they're not. But the intelligence is they don't understand how to feel the group or how to work with the group or something else. And that's the other part of the intelligence. Our next part is empathy. A person either has empathy or does not. An empathic person will listen, help. A non-empathic person will want information, gain, help, or gossip. And comfort. Are both of you able to accept each other's achievements, failures, and maintain trust and confidentiality? Comfort is important because what happens whenever anything is done, there will be some failures. Nothing works right the first time, and it is a continuous process. And trust and confidentiality means that you that basically you accept that sometimes failures are going to happen. Sometimes, and with confidentiality, sometimes people aren't perfect. So rather than you realize sometimes if someone has an off day, someone isn't perfect. Sometimes you know enough just to keep it between yourselves. Next slide. Also, in personal attributes, for example, what attributes do you have? It's important to know about basically what do you have, what skills do you have? Also, it's important to understand that you're unique. You have a different way on how to do things. And what happens, don't always try to emulate your crowd. Keep the things that you know how to do and stick to it. I mean, because your unique skills will help benefit everybody. If everyone thinks the same or acts the same, that's an example of groupthink. And what happens with groupthink, once one thing that comes in that everyone in the group is not immune to, what happens to the group? It deflates and it fizzles out. Also, you're sentient. Means basically, you think about things. You just. It's not like a robot or a program where you just type a key and it does something. You think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And the important thing is you can achieve anything you put your mind, body, and spirit to. That all three are very important because you have to be healthy in all three to continue. And again, trust. If you lose trust, that's a big thing that needs to be overcome because in critical times that will help you get through constraints. 5 questions as to what are quality circles. For example, who uses quality circles? Well, quality circles are used by groups in industry, business, and creative arts. When quality circles first became popular, it's actually in the 80s when, for example, when different car companies restructured and built plants in different parts of the United States and worldwide. Rather than go to the traditional manufacturing model where basically there was worker and management and tailor approach, there's a quality circle where basically there's a gray area. So basically, instead of 2 classes, a multi-tier system, and managers, executives, as well as those who worked on the shop floor met. And even executives and managers put on jumpsuits and steel-toed shoes, protective glasses when on the shop floor. That was something my father pioneered way before quality circles became popular. And what happens, that helped improve quality, helped improve customer satisfaction, and it made these companies get a new rebirth in an industry which was thought to be dying. What is the goal of quality circle? The goal is to improve and benefit from the synergy of the individual and the group. An individual can contribute to the overall process as well as the group, but sometimes to get both effects, you need to have different people present and different ideas to listen to figure out what to do. Sometimes ideas are controversial, sometimes they're disruptive, but basically all of us working together, we can find a way how to implement that to a better solution. Where quality circles have helped? Anywhere. Anywhere you can meet and discuss freely as a group and keep confidentiality, because the worst thing you want to do is is basically gossip and get into the drama like sometimes you see in some reality TV shows. Then basically it's not good to have a quality circle. Next question is when should a group meet? Well, groups should meet anytime they wish to. The main point is basically you want to keep the meetings casual, sort of informal. You don't want to have it so business-like that basically you feel like you're watching like 30-something or something else like that, with all, or Suits or something else like that. But what you want to do is you want to keep it casual, and you don't want to overschedule, because in one book, some years ago, it's actually a comedy and a business book called Death by Meeting. It talked about a company where it actually was successful, and they scheduled so many meetings, they ran themselves down to the ground. You just want to have just enough meetings, just to keep going, because basically, in the ending of the book, the last meeting of the company was the CEO of the company and the one person that overscheduled the meetings to dissolve the company. So you never want to get to that point. Now, why do you want to have a quality circle? Well, continuous improvement as well as growth through interest and social. What happens, you just don't want to have something be like a job, basically. You want to have fun at what you're doing. So what happens as well is a little bit of a social activity, but also for a purpose. You're trying to do continuous improvement. And with it, you will be able to do, because you can talk about things way before they become up to the board agenda or up to the executive office or down to the shop floor. So you can get the ideas before you have to go through all the formal administrative. Now let's take a look at one case. This is one with a company that makes a product. A company is making a product, and the team is forward thinking, but it seems like the quality defects keep appearing no matter what is done. Is there a solution? As a team member, what is your impression of what has been done? As an executive, should we continue to solve this problem internally or not? That means basically inside the company, or should we look to hire a consultant? Well, the first thing is, what are the benefits and failures of continuing internally? Is there a process in reducing defects? Do you feel the process is being made fast enough? What do your customers think of the process in addressing and reducing quality defects? Well, yes, there is a process in reducing defects. One common thing is what Jern mentioned, is stopping the spawning pond. Many times when people try to solve something, they look where the defect occurred. They say, well, what about if we just go from this point onward and just sort of filter out the defects? We'll set up a sifter, or we'll set up someone who just sorts the defective parts. Well, that's fine, but eventually you get so many people and the effects keep coming, you get overwhelmed, and it's like basically the person wishes they were an octopus. But the best way to do it is to stop the spawning pond. Basically go backwards and say, well, okay, well, what actually is the effect of what part of the process makes this part of the effect? And then when you stop the spawning pond, you'll find out you don't need people to sift through to look at defective parts. You'll have established a new standard, and your customers will be more appreciative, and also you'll be able to do service better things at a lower price for your customers. Can we go back to this one? One more. Okay, and also what happens, that's good. The other part of quality is, what is the benefit of humility? It's important to ask for a second look. And also to have a needed break, because sometimes if you look at a problem too long, or a team looks at their own problem for too long, you get tired, and you don't see something that you normally would see, because basically you're so ingrained with the project. You know, it's your project, you don't want to admit you made a mistake, or someone doesn't want to admit they made a mistake. So basically have a third person who's professional and can keep confidentiality and trust helps you. And also, the most important thing is a change in attitude that comes with humility. You have to have humility that you want to change, and also do the change. Just don't think about do it. In the second case study, this is more about a sales company. A client you and your team has worked with for a long time and starting to look reluctantly for another group to work with for the projects. The client has talked about certain things and applied others what is needed. Well, some questions asked. Is the next step to act on is what is heard or listened to and begin to start listening? Another question, expectations. Should we do what is right, do what is required, or think forward as a synergy for your client and team? And a closing question, is there a difference between hearing and listening? To answer the third question, is there a difference between hearing and listening? Yes, there is. Hearing is doing what is required to let someone say their thoughts. For example, like in a courtroom, a person can say their thoughts and basically, it's like reading a statement, someone reads a statement. It's a one-way approach. One person speaks, another person hears. Listening is actively evaluating what is discussed. Two speaking, sharing, and evaluating for a solution that helps both positively. And then, and what happens, part of the solution to making a better quality circle is the three ideas I mentioned in the beginning, the tools. And let me go into more detail. OGSM, Objective Strategies Measurements, is a one-page analysis which is succinct. So you make 4 columns: objective, goals, strategies, and measurements. And what you want to do is, like, for example, improve customer satisfaction. Okay, well, what's the goal? Well, the goal is basically by improving customer satisfaction, we will have a better sales cycle for our product. What's the strategy? Well, what can we do basically to be more responsive to the customer? What can we do to anticipate customer needs? And last part, how do we measure it? Well, we can measure it either by the number of returns or allowances that come in, how many things are returned, and how much. Another thing we can measure about is how much do our customers contact us when they hear about a new product, as well as how well do we work on basically support? Or do our customers still work with us on support services? In SWOT and TOES, what happens? This is again a succinct plan. Again, it's normally you can make it 1 page. And the main thing, for example, like let's say your strength is you have an established product base. Your weaknesses is that basically the area is declining economically. The opportunity is once the area recovers, you're set to go great guns. The threat is you have cash flow issues. What do? Well, first, strengthen opportunities. Well, what happens? You have a good product base. Keep going with it. Strengths and threats. Well, what happens regarding the cash flow? Consider other means other than what you're doing in terms of to obtain cash flow. Go out to different areas, considering an organic approach, considering an internet-based approach, a social media approach. Weakness and threats. Well, you're in a declining area and there's low cash flow. Well, I mean, one strategy is to move if you want to, and the other basically is if you want to stay. How can you work with the local community to make the community better overall? So basically, you can be a good business partner. And other one, weakness and opportunities. Again, work with the community and try to be a business partner, or decide whether to stay and move to another location. And wrapping up, quality circles is a lot based upon emotional aspects more than just engineering aspects. Listening. It's important to listen, to think what's being said, actively listen, rather than just hear what's being said. In your response, think about what you can think. When you give a response, think of the word "and." Well, one person says, well, how about if we improve, how about if we add this feature to the product? Then one response would be, and let's consider this. By adding "and," what happens is it's a positive approach and shows basically that you have thought about what's being said. The other thing is empathy. When someone says something that's disruptive or are basically controversial. Someone in the group may be controversial. Maybe they're not dressed basically corporate business formal with a pinstripe, or maybe someone is basically too formal in a group that's very casual. Well, fine, okay, that's fine. But the thing is, the main thing is you're there to share ideas. You're not there to basically look and evaluate how everyone is dressed. So keep your focus as to what the main purpose is. And things that are different, everyone is unique. So just try to live with it, and keep professional at all times. Trust. Trust is something that's earned and is continually evaluated. Although people may think it's not, it is. Especially when we think of a military analogy. When a commander gives an order, the crew will follow through on the order sometimes because they trust the commander. They may not know the reason why, but the commander will explain it later. But at the time that order is given, because the trust is there, they'll follow through without knowing the reason why, and that allows a success of a mission or project. And that's the same thing in business or in creative arts. Finally, integrity. Doing the best you can even when you're not watched. What happens when an environment gets to the point where everyone has to watch everybody, it's time to close up. I mean, basically, shut down, dissolve business, just don't. I mean, if you like what you're doing, you don't have to be watched. You know exactly the expectations, you know what your goals are, and so that's integrity is a good point to shoot for. Oh, next slide. Next one.
That's it.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you for attending, and please feel free to contact me at Skype at Diana1A. Also, I'm available for phone consultations as well, with the free 30-minute consultation at 262-331-9915 in the Chicago, and I'm in the Chicago area. As well as you can contact me by email at diana@kaneki.net, KANECKI.net.
Website.
And the website, www.kaneki.net. Thank you again.